welcome to Gunnar Weiskamp's web development. Today, lesson 4, calling web API via jQuery. So today we will look I forgot the how there, how you can call a web API using jQuery. Forgive me for the typo. So in a crux, we're going to create a web API with MVC and with jQuery. So you can sort of see the differences. And obviously, we're going to call we're going to introduce a HTML page. This HTML page is going to have the jQuery in it, and it will then call the web API code, but plus an MVC page which calls the web API as in our traditional application which we created in lesson 2 of web API. So some of this is a repeat of lesson 2 in my web API tutorials, and we're sort of building upon that to use jQuery to call a web API. Okay, so if you want to create today's app, I'm using Visual Studio 2013. Go to File, New Project, then do the steps here in B, and in C you want empty and MVC and web API in the same solution. So you want C here selected as well. Okay, righto. So without further ado, let's jump into this web API area that I've created. So this isn't completely empty. As I was saying, this is a build upon from lesson 2 of my web API tutorials. So I have already added this API folder. In there, let's go from top down. In there I have added a web API controller. If you don't know how to do that, just simply go add controller, but make sure it's a web API controller. And I've named this controller, as you can see, it's called username controller. So if you want to do that, you can do that. And then, sorry, we don't need to do one. And then I've added in the same code as I did in tutorial 2, because we're just going to repeat a lot of those processes. And obviously, as mentioned before, one of the big differences between a web API controller is that it inherits from this API controller base. So that's our web API controller created. As mentioned before, our routing and our special stuff magic that happens with web API is created in here in this folder, in this file when this solution was created. So he holds all our magical routing, and there is our directory which is pointing to this API area here. Alright, so that's that folder explained. Now, controllers. Yes, so like I said, I have actually added a controller in here as well. If you're new to that, all you've got to do is right click on that, click on add, new controller, and here you want to do the MVC5 controller. And you click on add. Now I've named this one home, and then controller, as you can see, so name that in the same manner as this one here as well. So let's cancel out of that. So in our home controller, we're using the same again as we did in tutorial 2. We're just going to get past this user data model to this view, and it will have a link created on the related view. So that's the controller explained. Now, and we've got a model also, as shown there, and just a pretty basic stuff here in a model. If you do not know how to create models, then you just go add new class and then name it user data model as shown here. And then obviously you can put that code in there as well. Make sure you reference all the namespaces here for the models. So mine's web API jQuery and the models folder here. So if you put it this way, if you don't do that, you can't use this object here. So make sure you do that in our MVC controller and also in our web API controller here. So you can see we've got the namespace for the model there. Okay, so in our index, so the view related to this guy is, yeah, I think so. The view related to this guy is here, our index page. And again, exactly the same as we've done before. We're just calling this code here in a way. So nothing's changing there. I just want to sort of show the differences between both approaches. So feel free to put all that code in here, but just make sure you're referencing the right solution namespaces as I've mentioned before. We can save all that. So now, for people that are new to JQuery, JQuery is a dynamic language based upon JavaScript, which allows magic to happen on the client side rather than the server side. So we haven't got JQuery yet. Oh, we do actually. Anyway, let's just imagine we don't have jQuery in the solution. So what you normally do is you go to Manage NuGet Packages, type in here jQuery, because what we are now doing is inserting jQuery into our solution. So we click on this guy, click Install. So now we've got jQuery added into our solution, which is a key component of this tutorial. So there it goes. You can see this the new jQuery has been updated here of the latest jQuery. So we'll just let that write out. There we go, jQuery has been added. Just a quick note on NuGet, if you're new, NuGet allows you to add, update numerous processes which a .NET Visual Studio application can use. Much like Bootstrap, as you can see here. You might have heard of Bootstrap before. And Angular, if that's a language you've heard of before. You can add Angular or jQuery or Bootstrap by using this NuGet, Manage NuGet package process. But that's enough on NuGet. So now we know we've added the latest jQuery in here. These are where all the files end up. Now we're going to add a HTML page, because as I said, we're going to, so just a simple HTML page. User password. Going to call it that. Right, okay. Yeah, so we're now going to do this process here. Is it this process here? No. This process here much the same way, but here doing it via HTML and the jQuery. So let's grab some code that I've already created for that. Here we go. And I will rename this one. I want to try to keep everything identical here. So I've named this one a little bit incorrect. Let's call it get password. So rename your one here get password if you can. Okay, there we go. So let's paste over the top of our form. So here we are. Let's explain some of this now. Well, let's explain briefly what this tutorial is going to do. Is this index CSHTML is going to show. Oops, come on. Oops, it's going to show this link here, and when you click on it, this link will go into our API here. It's going to go and look for this folder, which is here. It's going to look for this function. Let's bring it up. Can I split screen this? Okay, so it's going to look for that function. So it's going to look for that controller, which is this username controller. It'll then look for this function called getUserPassword, which is here. and then we're passing it, as you can see, a parameter here, which is the username here. Then we're going to go in here and get to see if the passed in username matches. So if we pass in Mary, it'll match and will return my password Mary. Much the same as I've been doing in my other tutorials here. The only difference here is we're going to do the same, more or less the same process, but with JQuery. So let's look at this file and see what JQuery is and how it sort of works and how it's going to do its magic. So you have to reference the JQuery library in here, which we've taken from there. So that's this guy, and he's now referenced there. So we have to put that in so that jQuery will work. Now, obviously, we've got some HTML in here, and as you can read it here, it says, please enter your username and then click submit to get the related password. So once we put in, say, Mary in here, and then when we click this button submit, we're going to go into this API area and hopefully get the password for Mary, which is my password Mary. How this all happens is in this magical area here. This is our jQuery. You always need to wrap your jQuery statements in this document ready function, so always try to put that in. And then if we sort of, these are the, so these are the technical mechanics of how it's going to get information and once it goes in here. What we have in here is our btn submit, which is referenced here via the ID. And then obviously you can see the click. So by putting this guy in here like that with this syntax, we are able to append a click event or action against this button here. So now when we click on this event, this code will fire. And as you can see, we're getting the username from this box here via this line of code here. I'm not going to go into all the specifics of jQuery because that's a lesson in itself. So now we've got the username. We're going to use the HTTP jQuery get. And as you can see, we're just using the same URL before, like in our MVC. But now we've got the username in here. We're adding that onto this URL. And this get will allow entry into this code here to get the password, which is my password Mary in this case. And then all we're going to do is that information, which is when returned, is going to be held in this variable here. And so we're going to take the information out of this variable and place it into this label here. And you do that via the text. So this label here will end up receiving the my password Mary. So if we save all that and we build it, let us go and bring up. So if we first see, this is our original MVC approach. You can see the URL there, the home, and then if we go, let's just bring, so if we go and bring this to our left, and we keep all our code to the other side here. That should do. So this is our MVC controller here. So the home controller index method, and you can see we've gone here to get the Mary password, and that'll enter here. So now if we click on get password, you can see we've gone here and got my password Mary. Exactly the same like in lesson 2, and you can see we've gone to that API URL there. Now, if we, this is our new get password HTML. You can see please enter. So this is our HTML code here. And now let's see what happens when we enter Mary in here and press submit. See, there we go. We got the my password Mary. As I said it would. This label has now received that text from this API call here, and we've got that my password Mary, which we got here, so we know it's entered the API. Oops, yeah, so we know it's entered the API there. So, yeah, this is another different way of getting information out of an API via JQuery. I hope this tutorial has been helpful to you guys. Please subscribe to my channel or feel free to visit my website. Thank you. Bye.